What's up? How y'all doing? It's Lugamonger. This is going to be a first impressions video. Benchmade ABS Assist. It's a 556. 556 model. You can see its first production run 613 out of 1,000. This is the new mechanism that they came out with. It's an ambidextrious push button. This is the assisted version. They also have an automatic version. See that blue G10, layered blue G10. Now, the mechanism itself is very reminiscent on how it works of the axis lock. If you're familiar with the way that the axis lock actually, works to lock the blade itself. But it is ambidextrous, as you can push either one of the buttons to unlock the blade. Either side will work to unlock it. It has the lock like most of the Benchmade assisted models. It's these 3 standoff construction. There's some things about this that I really like, and some things about this that I'm not quite sure of. You can see here that the profile of the knife itself, I forgot to mention 154 cm steel. Let me get the specs out of the way. The blade length is 3.6 inches. The blade thickness is 0.124 inches. Overall length is 8.41 inches. The closed length is 4.8 inches. The weight is 5.46 ounces. So it's 5.5 ounces heavy. The handle thickness is 0.59, so it's about 0.6, a little bit thicker than half an inch, which is nice. MSRP is $210 for this model with the satin and stone wash finish. It's $225 for the black version. Now, the profile of the knife, you can see it's very fat for how it's not a thin blade, a narrow blade, but it's not the thickest blade out there for how thick the actual knife is, and this is because of that mechanism in there. Takes up a lot of space. The blade itself, probably not going to be able to see it on camera, but the actual edge of the cutting edge of the blade runs about right parallel with the edge of that dimple right there. So it's running along here. So all of this is just kind of mechanism. It's extra space for this push button mechanism. Let me see if I can get a good angle in here. You can actually see. Let me see if I can get it to focus. You can see it squeezing in. Button squeeze in, lift that little black plate there, which disengages. I don't know if this is going to come across, but there's a locking bar. You can see that locking bar move down and disengage as I squeeze those buttons. And so it's locking with a pin right behind the blade, just like the axis lock. It's doing the same kind of locking as an axis lock, but it's that little spring-loaded bar instead. And it's just using those 2 ramps on the back, or on the actual buttons themselves. Squeeze in and disengage. It's cool. I want to get it better in focus because it's got a lot of parts. It's very intricate. I don't think that they're ever going to come out with this on a very cheap version ever of this knife, just because there's a lot of pieces, there's a lot of milled pieces to this locking mechanism. The strength is, to be proven. Who knows? You can see it moves up. That's great. Very, very interesting. Very innovative mechanism. You can see the blade, the tang around the actual pivot of the blade there. One side of it is raised. You can see that the reason for that is when you actually disengage this mechanism here, if you don't get it if you don't move that little bar, you can see the little silver thing, all the way down, that section of the blade inhibits the actual blade from closing until the buttons are all the way depressed, and then you can actually release the blade mechanism. So it's very safe. It's got a good design to where it's not really going to come undone unless you really want it to. And with that, I have a problem because purchasing the knife, you're going to do majority of your cutting like this. You're slicing, dice cutting, cooking, whatever you're going to do. In a defensive situation, which this knife with the 3.6-inch blade, I do think is decently suited for, you're going to hold a knife. Most people, I don't know. I would hold a knife in this fashion, God forbid. And you can see where my thumb and my index finger rest. I give a really good purchase to this knife. You can see the lockup is solid, rock solid, but I give a really good squeeze and it doesn't fully disengage that locking mechanism, but there is a little bit of blade movement. So it does have just that little bit of... there is a risk of disengaging the locking mechanism utilizing this form of grip. You can see that there. With that, there's a lock which just slides up in between those two buttons, which actually prevents them from moving in. You can see that it just slides up so they can't go anywhere. And it's a fantastic lock, and it's very, you can see, very easy to engage and disengage. It's a lot better than the one here on the Barrage. It's very reminiscent as, again, as it's a push button. You push it, move up, push it, move back. But it's large. It's got a lot of texturing. It's got that jimping there, so it's very easy to engage and disengage. So when you engage it, there's no risk of releasing that blade accidentally. So that's nice, but at the same point, do you want to be using a lock all of the time, especially since we're talking about a penetrating grip on the knife itself? I don't know. But the actual grip itself is fantastic. It feels great in the hand. I've got some, I've got good sized hands. And it feels great. I really didn't think, it could use a little bit more rounded. It is squared off on the edges there, so it's not the best thing to give a really good squeeze, but the overall shape, the overall thickness, it is a very wide handle. You can see that. Blade, give you a comparison here to the Griptilian. It is a larger knife. It's about the same size. There, that's a good comparison. The Barrage. It's about the same size. It's a little bit heavier. But it pains me to say, because I like this knife. I really like the ergonomics of the Barrage, but this feels better. The safety's easier to engage and disengage. You can see it's a lot easier to work with. So I don't know. I know that there's a lot of theories out there. People are saying, "Oh, this is what they're going to replace the access mechanism, the access lock with." I don't know if that's true. The intricacy of the manufacturing and the design of this is very simple. It's a hole in the liners and a pin with a couple springs. It's very, very simple. This isn't. There's a lot more to this. There's a lot going on. So I don't know if it's going to make a straight replacement. You can see those bushings stick out all the way on both sides. You see that? It does make for a very smooth action. It is very smooth. There's no grit. There's no grind. There's no, and it flies out as well. That's one thing I want to say here. Okay. This is the Barrage opening, right? The Barrage isn't the fastest knife to open, but opens, you know. This thing flies out. It jerks your hand. It's got a really good spring in there. As well, it feels kind of strange. With a normal, most, like a 90%, I would say, of assisted knives, there's the tension to where, you know, you get off the detent, and then there's no detent in this, obviously, but then you get, you know, to a certain point, the spring tension takes it, and it releases the blade, opens the blade. This one, there's actually a break right there. You can see, so you push it out, and then it breaks and opens. So it's got a detent. It feels like a detent. It's not, but you know, that's the feeling out there. So it's an interesting feel. Most people probably wouldn't notice it, but if you're really in tune to if you deal with a lot of assisted knives, you're gonna notice the way that it feels. It's got a strange feeling. It's got a neat sensation to it. See, first production run. It is pretty. Deep carry pocket clip. I don't know if I mentioned that. Full steel liners. It's thick. It's heavy. I'll give you a profile comparison. Closed. You see that it is a thick knife. Widthwise, obviously. The G10 is pretty, but I'm going to be doing a review on this once I get some carry time behind it. Actually know, I mean, get some more thoughts as far as the functionality, how it actually works. But that's the 665 ABS Assist, brand new for 2015. This is the only knife manufactured with that assisted push button. There's a couple, I think there's 2 auto versions right now, but this is the only assisted version. I can't wait until they come out with a manual folder. I'm going to swoop that one up too. Y'all have a good one.